Good evening, everyone. Hello. I think I'm audible to everyone. If I'm audible, please respond me back. I feel that I'm audible. Okay. So now we will start off with today's topic. Today's topic is more of a related to the previous questions discussion related to simple interest and the compound interest part, right? So we'll spend a little bit of time on the basics of simple interest and compound interest, which is required in the examination. That's the first thing. Then we'll move to the questions, right? So पहले basics थोड़ा सा करेंगे, then we'll move to the questions, right? So that is my basic thing or basic agenda for today's class. So let's move to the goal of the class. We'll work on slight basics of simple interest and compound interest, where I'll just work on some of the basic techniques for simple interest and compound interest, and we'll try to clear the concepts related to simple interest and compound interest. So what are the important concepts? First thing is, what is the basic difference between simple interest and compound interest, right? That's the important part here. So simple interest is always on the principal value. This is always on the amount part, right? That's the first basic thing which you need to keep in mind, right? Normally, simple interest is always calculated in terms of P into R into T by 100, right? Where my compound interest is nothing but P into 1 plus R by 100 raised to T minus 1 is my basic representation, right? Where P is the principal value, R is the rate per annum, T is the time period, right? So these are the three basic things which you need to keep in mind in the case of simple interest and compound interest. Second important format which you need to keep in mind in the case of simple interest and compound interest, whenever I am talking about simple interest and compound interest for 2 years, that's the case for 2 years. So that's the case for 2 years. So if the time period is 2 years, my principal value is same, rate of interest is same, and the time period given is 2 years, right? So my simple interest is supposed to be 2PR by 100, and my compound interest is supposed to be P into 1 plus R by 100 raised to 2 minus 1, right? Or else we can say this is nothing but an algebraic expression. तो अगर आप इसको expand करोगे तो क्या होगा? Expand करोगे तो कुछ फॉर्मेट आएगा. मैं डायरेक्टली फॉर्मूलास पे आ रहा हूँ. तो डिफरेंस बिटवीन कंपाउंड इंटरेस्ट एंड सिंपल इंटरेस्ट इस केस में हो जाएगा P into R by 100 whole square, right? So that's the first thing which you need to keep in mind. So ये एक ऐसा फॉर्मेट है जो आपको ध्यान में रखना है. काफ़ी टाइम क्वेश्चंस आते हैं इस फॉर्मेट से. सेकंड जो फॉर्मेट है वो है द रेशियो बिटवीन कंपाउंड इंटरेस्ट एंड सिंपल इंटरेस्ट. सो रेशियो बिटवीन कंपाउंड इंटरेस्ट एंड सिंपल इंटरेस्ट इज इक्वल R बाय 200 प्लस 1, राइट? सो ये सेकंड वेरिएशन है जो आपको ध्यान में रखनी है, राइट? सो दिस इज माय सेकंड फॉर्मूला व्हिच यू नीड टू कीप इन माइंड. सो ये कुछ बेसिक्स हैं जो आपको ध्यान में रखनी है. सो first thing is the relation between simple interest and compound interest. What is simple interest? What is compound interest? For 2 years, I'll have some kind of relations possible between them. जो अगला format है, which is important here, is to keep in mind, is the format where we will deal with the terms like my principal value is P, my rate of interest is R, and the time period is about T years. And I am compounding it. I am compounding it for 2 times in a year, right? So my compound interest now is nothing but P into 1 plus R by 2 into 100 raised to 2t minus 1 will be the representation here. In other sense, if it's compounded n times in a year, if it's compounded n times in a year, my format will be nothing but, my compound interest now will be nothing but p into 1 plus r by n into 100 raised to n into t minus 1 will be the representation possible. That's the second thing which you need to keep in mind. So ये दो फॉर्मेट है जो आपको ध्यान में रखनी है whenever you are dealing with the simple interest and compound interest format, right? So ये कुछ basic formulas है जो आपको ध्यान में रखनी है. Apart from that, आप हमेशा ऑप्शन से जा सकते हैं फाइंड आउट करने के लिए. So यूटिलाइज करो ऑप्शंस का, देन अगर ऑप्शन से नहीं हो रहा है तो फॉर्मूला अप्लाई करें. सो लेट्स डायरेक्टली मूव टू द क्वेश्चन सो दैट वी कैन आइडेंटिफाई सम ऑफ द बेसिक फॉर्मेट्स. Now first question is, what sum of money will amount to 520 in 5 years and 560 each in 7 years at simple interest? Now इसने कहा कि simple interest पे, अगर ये simple interest पे है that means मेरा जो interest है every year will always remain constant, वो same ही होगा, right? तो मेरा condition क्या है? They are talking about 5 years. In 5 years my value, let's mark 5 years and then it's about 7 years here, right? So in 5 years my value is nothing but 520 and in 7 years it's nothing but 568. So in 2 साल में मेरा interest कितना हुआ? मेरा interest हो गया 48. The value is 568 here. So मेरा interest हो गया 48. That means every year that gives you the condition that every year my interest is nothing but 48 by 2, or else we can say 24 rupees per year will be my interest, right? So now your condition क्या है? What sum of the money? So now I'll move back to 0 years, right? So 0 years, that means the gap is 5 years here. Every year the interest is 24. In 5 years it will be nothing but 120. Right, so I have an interest here as 120. So my interest is 120. What will be my principal value now? My principal value now is nothing but 520 minus 120, or else 400 will be the value in this case, right? So my value is nothing but 400. So my value is nothing but 400 in this case, right? So that's my basic representation. दूसरे क्वेश्चन पे आते हैं. सिंपल इंटरेस्ट एंड कंपाउंड इंटरेस्ट एंड सिंपल इंटरेस्ट फॉर अ सर्टेन सम एट सर्टेन रेट ऑफ इंटरेस्ट फॉर 2 years आर 220 एंड 200. फाइंड द प्रिंसिपल वैल्यू. अब इस केस में आप क्या कर सकते हैं? 2-3 चीज कर सकते हैं. पहला है कि आप नॉर्मल फॉर्मूला लगाकर सिंपल इंटरेस्ट का फॉर्मूला लगाएं, कंपाउंड इंटरेस्ट का फॉर्मूला लगाएं और इनको कोरिलेट करें. दूसरी बात जो इंपॉर्टेंट है, अगर मैं कंडीशन दूं कंपाउंड इंटरेस्ट ऑन सिंपल इंटरेस्ट एंड कंपाउंड इंटरेस्ट हियर. सो आई नो सिंपल इंटरेस्ट इज ऑलवेज द कांस्टेंट पार्ट, राइट? सो इट्स नथिंग बट द सेम इंटरेस्ट इज एप्लीकेबल एवरी ईयर, बट कंपाउंड इंटरेस्ट इज व्हाट? इट्स ऑलवेज इंक्रीजिंग. सो इट्स नथिंग बट इंटरेस्ट ओवर द इंटरेस्ट. नाउ हियर अकॉर्डिंग टू दिस इट्स गिवन my simple interest is 200 in 2 years. So I'll mark first year and second year. So first year my interest is supposed to be 100 and second year it's again 100. That's why I can say my overall interest is nothing but 200. But in the case of compound interest, what's happening? The overall interest is nothing but 220. That means here it's 100 and here is nothing but 100 plus 20. Right, that's why I'm getting 220. अब कंडीशन क्या है कि the interest is on this part is always on the previous interest, right? Because ये तो प्रिंसिपल वैल्यू पे आ रहा है, जो भी एक्स्ट्रा आ रहा है that is the interest on the interest part. So I have an interest of 20 out of 100. If I have an interest as 20 out of 100, then what will be my value now? What will be my rate of interest here? My interest here is nothing but 20 out of 100. That represents 20% is my rate of interest. if 20% is my rate of interest, my simple interest here is nothing but 100 rupees for every year, right? Which is nothing but 20% of my principal value. So if 20% of my principal value, that means my principal value is how much? My principal value is supposed to be nothing but 500 in this case, right? So my principal value is 500. So I can utilize this thing to work on the value. That's nothing but 500 here, right? So if I don't know the formula, I can always go by these kind of basic things. So मेरा condition क्या है? मेरा simple interest जो है वो हमेशा constant रहेगा. So 100 and again it's 100. But compound interest is what? It's about interest over the interest. So पहले साल तो 100 ही रहेगा, but next year it's about 120. Extra क्या है? Extra है 20. 20 किस पे आ रहा है? 100 पे आ रहा है. That means my rate of interest is nothing but 20% in this case. And then I can find out the principal value, right? That's the first thing which you can do here in these cases, right? So if you don't know the formula, I'm utilizing the basic approach to work on. But अगर formulas भी use करना है, identify the time given is about 2 years. So in 2 years, I have the two formulas available. My formulas are nothing but the ratio between compound interest and simple interest is nothing but R by 200 plus 1. That's the first formula. And the second one is the difference between compound interest and simple interest is nothing but P into R by 100 whole square. Alright. So let's find out. In this case, if I'll use the first formula here, my compound interest and simple interest is nothing but 220 by 200. Can I write this value as 1 plus 20 by 200, right? So that I am writing this one in this format. So what is my rate of interest now? My rate of interest is about 20%. So if I'm using this formula, I can get the rate of interest. Second thing is, now since I know the rate of interest, the difference between them is how much? 220 minus 200, which is nothing but 20 in this case, is equal to P into 20 by 100 whole square, right? So this is nothing but 5 here. So P value is nothing but 25 into 20. That's nothing but 500, right? So formula we utilize कर सकते हैं. But unnecessarily I need not to utilize the formula, right? So formula use करने की जरूरत नहीं है. तो ऐसा नहीं है कि जो सिंपल इंटरेस्ट और कंपाउंड इंटरेस्ट का क्वेश्चन होता है वो फॉर्मूला बेस्ड ही होता है. वो फॉर्मूला बेस्ड होता है, कभी कभी फॉर्मूला बेस्ड नहीं होता है. तो आपको ध्यान में रखना है, ये देखना है आपको कि वो फॉर्मूला बेस्ड क्वेश्चन है या नहीं है. क्या आप ऑप्शन से जा सकते हैं? अगर ऑप्शन से नहीं जा सकते तो और क्या अप्रोच आप लगा सकते हैं, वो आपको ध्यान में रखनी है. क्वेश्चन नंबर 3. A gave some amount at simple rate of interest of 10% per annum to B for 3 years. तो अब आइडेंटिफाई करें, A ने B को दिया है with the rate of interest as 10% per annum for 3 years. That means the overall interest will be how much? 10 into 3. That means 30% is the interest. So that's the first thing which you can identify. Now B gave this amount to C at the rate of 20% per annum. So यहाँ से यहाँ पे इसने C को दिया है with the rate of interest as 20% per annum and the time period is same 3 years here. तो यहाँ पे इंटरेस्ट कितना हो गया ओवरऑल? 20 into 3 और 60%. तो क्या कर सकते हैं कि यहाँ से यहाँ और यहाँ से यहाँ अगर ये कंसिडर करे तो मेरा इंटरेस्ट डबल है, राइट? If the income of B was 1560 after 3 years, what amount would A had given, right? So 1560 is the interest, right? So interest नहीं basically बोला जाए तो इसने जो यहाँ पे जो कमाया है, right? और यहाँ पे जो दिया है, इस दोनों के बीच का जो डिफरेंस है वो उसका इनकम हो गया, मतलब 30%. So 30% of principal value is nothing but 1560, right? So that's my basic representation here. 30% is 1560. Let's find out 100%. So principal value is how much? 1560 into 100 by 30, right? So that's nothing but 52 5200, मेरा वैल्यू हो जाएगा 5200 इस केस में, राइट. सो वैल्यू इज 5200, राइट. तो यहाँ पे जो ध्यान में देना है आपको, ये जो डायरेक्ट रिलेशन जो है ये आपको ध्यान में देना है कि ये 30% बन रहा था और ये अब 60% बन रहा है. तो पहले 30% बना, अब 60% बना. दैट मीन्स आई कैन डायरेक्टली टेक द रिलेशन एंड आई कैन वर्क ऑन द वैल्यू. चलिए फोर्थ क्वेश्चन को देखा जाए. द सिंपल इंटरेस्ट चार्ज ऑन एन अमाउंट ऑफ ₹22,500 एट द एंड ऑफ द 4 year इज 10,800. What will be the compound interest on the same amount? Okay. पहला तो देखें ये क्या पॉसिबिलिटीज ले सकते हैं. मेरा इंटरेस्ट 10,800. What will be the compound interest on the same amount at the same rate at the end of 2 years? So basically, if in 4 years, if it's given 10,800 is the value, that means per year it can be how much? Sorry, in 2 years it can be how much? एक बेसिक एनालिसिस लेकर देखते हैं. सो इन 2 years it will be nothing but 5,400, राइट. सो वो तो मेरा सिंपल इंटरेस्ट हो गया फॉर 2 years. बट इफ आई वांट द कंपाउंड इंटरेस्ट, मेरा कंपाउंड इंटरेस्ट जो होगा वो इससे थोड़ा ज्यादा होगा, बहुत ज्यादा तो नहीं होगा, राइट. इससे थोड़ा ज्यादा होगा. सो मेरा आंसर जो होगा विच विल बी स्लाइटली मोर देन 5,400. अगर नंबर्स पे देखा जाए तो नंबर्स पे आई कैन डेफिनेटली आइडेंटिफाई देयर इज ओनली वन नंबर व्हिच इज मोर देन 5,000, स्लाइटली मोर देन 5,400 इज नथिंग बट 5,724. सो पॉसिबली मेरा आंसर 5,724 होना चाहिए, राइट. दैट आई कैन आइडेंटिफाई फ्रॉम द नंबर्स. बट लेट्स ट्राई टू चेक. सो माय कंडीशन नाउ इज नथिंग बट माय simple interest is nothing but P into R into T by 100. So according to this, my simple interest is how much? 10800 should be equal to 22500 into R into 4 by 100 is the value. So अगर आप calculate करें तो you can directly find out the rate of interest. My rate of interest is how much? Let's try to calculate. So let's try to work on the values here. First thing is let's work on this, right. And my value is 225 into 4 is how much? 900. So 10800 by 900 should be equal to my rate of interest. My interest is nothing but 12%. So my rate of interest is 12% here. That's the first thing which you can identify. Second thing is now I want to apply this one in terms of a compound interest part. So my compound interest now is nothing but principal value which is but 22500 into 1.12. My rate of interest is 12% raised to 2 minus 1 will be the representation here. राइट. सो अगर आप इसको कैलकुलेट करेंगे तो क्या पॉसिबिलिटीज है. फर्स्ट थिंग इज 112 स्क्वायर. लेट्स टॉक अबाउट 112 स्क्वायर. हाउ मच इज 112 स्क्वायर? सो 12544. दैट मीन्स दिस वैल्यू इज 1.2544 minus 1 is multiplied with 22500, right. Or else we can say 22500 is multiplied with 0.2544. अब यहां से भी डायरेक्टली आप आइडेंटिफाई कर सकते हो कि अगर आप इसको 2544 से मल्टीप्लाई करोगे तो मैक्सिमम कितना होगा? 0.25. लेट्स कंसीडर 0.25 इज नथिंग बट हाउ मच? 1/4. सो इसका 1/4 लेकर देखो, थोड़ा सा ज्यादा, बट समवेयर अराउंड 5,724, राइट. सो ये मेरा वैल्यू होगा. या फिर डिजिटल सम से आप देख सकते हो, ये जो हो गया समेशन, ये है 9 into anything will always provide a summation as 9. सो हम वैसे ऑप्शन में जाएंगे जिसमें समेशन डिजिट शुड बी इक्वल टू 9, राइट. लाइक यहाँ पे या फिर 9 या फिर 9 का मल्टीपल. सो 9 plus 9 is 18 plus 4 is nothing but 22, which is not a multiple of 9. 5 plus 4 is 9, 7 plus 2 is 9, that means 18. This is a multiple of 9, right. 6 plus 3 is 9 and 4 plus 4 is 8, 17, not a multiple of 9, right. 8 plus 5 is 13, 13 plus 6 is nothing but 19, 19 plus 8 is also a possibility, 27. But again my number should be somewhere near to 5000, so 5724 will be the value possible here, right? So that will be the condition possible. Let's check the next one. Next one is nothing but if rupees 12,000 is led at 10% per annum compound interest compounded half yearly, what is the equivalent simple rate of interest for 1 year for the same interest? So now this is not a calculation part, right? So here my rate of interest is about 10%. If I'll go by the successive change formula, I have a successive change formula, a percent and then b percent. My overall change is always a plus b plus ab by 100% will be the value here. अब यहाँ पे अगर आप फॉर्मूला नहीं जानते हैं तो आप ये लॉजिक तो डायरेक्टली लगा सकते हो. इंस्टेड ऑफ 12,000 आई विल टेक 100 rupees फॉर द टाइम बीइंग. सो आई हैव डिपॉजिटेड 100 rupees here. So I have deposited 100 rupees and my rate of interest is how much? 10% per annum. So half yearly it will be how much? 5%. So half yearly it will be about 5%. So let's take 5% of this one. So I'll take 5% of this. That's nothing but 5. I have the value as 105. Then I should take 5% of this one. So 105. If we take 5% of this one, how much is 5% of this part? Let's talk about this. So 5% of 105. Let's take 5% of this. That's nothing but 5.25 will be the value, 5% of this part. Now overall interest is how much? 5 plus 5.25. That means 10.25 is the interest when I have deposited 100 rupees here. That means my interest is supposed to be 10.25% per annum will be the interest possible in this case, right? So that will be my interest possible here. So अगर फॉर्मूला नहीं पता तो आप डायरेक्टली ये यूटिलाइज कर सकते हैं, बट अगर फॉर्मूला पता है तो a% क्या हो गया? 5 नेक्स्ट इज ऑल्सो 5 प्लस 5 इंटू 5 बाय 100. दैट्स समथिंग बट 10.25%. मेरा इंटरेस्ट हो गया 10.25% here. Right. Sixth one. Find the difference between simple and compound interest of on rupees 6,000 for 1 year at 20% per, but interest is calculated on half yearly basis, right? So interest is calculated on half yearly basis. यहाँ पे क्या है, अगर आप सिंपल इंटरेस्ट निकालें तो हाफ ईयरली हो या ईयरली हो ये कोई ज़्यादा मैटर करेगा नहीं. मैटर करेगा आपको कंपाउंड इंटरेस्ट के फॉर्मेट में, बिकॉज सिंपल इंटरेस्ट में मेरा इंटरेस्ट तो कांस्टेंट ही रहता है. सो अगर वो हाफ ईयरली 10% ले तो 1 ईयर में वो 20% ही होगा. बट सिंपल कंपाउंड इंटरेस्ट के फॉर्मेट में ये थोड़ा चेंज हो जाता है. So let's talk about simple interest first. So simple interest will be how much? So first thing as a mark, rate of interest now is nothing but 10% for 1 times it's calculated, right? So simple interest now is nothing but 6,000 into 20% into 1 by 100, right? So that's my simple interest in this case. So let's calculate. My simple interest is how much? 20% of 6,000 is 1,200. So that is my simple interest here. Now let's talk about the compound interest. So compound interest का format क्या हो जाएगा? Compound interest is nothing but now it's calculated twice. So something but 6,000 into 1.05 because rate of interest 5 हो जाएगा. Raised to 2 minus 1 is the format. So let's calculate. It's about 6,000 into, now 1.05 square is how much? Nothing but 110, also 1.1025 minus 1. So it's about 6,000 into 0.1025. So let's take 6,000 into 0.1025. So can be written as 6 into 102.5. Let's multiply this value. So 6 into 5 is equal to 30. 6 into 2 is equal to 12. Plus 3 is 15, right? And this is equal to 6. Okay, just a second. Sorry, my fault. Rate of interest is 10%. I'll have to erase the values now. I'll be erasing some values. By mistake, I have taken 5%. It has to be 10% because 20% is the interest here. Alright, so let's talk about this value. So the value now is nothing but 6,000 into 1.1 raised to 2 minus 1. So 11 square is equal to 121. So that's equal to 6,000 into 0.21. Can be written as 210 into 6. Right? So the value is how much? 1260. This is 1260 and this value is equal to 1200. My difference is how much? 1260 minus 1200. My difference is nothing but 60. Right? So my difference is 60. My value is supposed to be 60. That is one of the case. Second thing is, whenever you are working on these, you can also draw a Pascal's triangle format, which is easy for you to work on. Now Pascal's triangle I have to draw here for the time period as two terms. So that's nothing but 1, 2 and 1, where this part represents my principal value, this part represents my simple interest, and this part represents my, from this to this it represents my simple interest, it represents my compound interest. That means this extra part represents my difference between compound interest and simple interest. What do you need to do? I have to insert the values. Now here my rate of interest is how much? 10%. So let's take the principal value as 6,000 here into 1. Then here it's 2. I'll find out 10% of this. 10% of this is how much? That's nothing but 600. I'll insert 600 here. Then I'll find out 10% of this. 10% 600 is how much? 60. 60 is used here, right? So 6,000 is my principal value. Now you can identify 1200 is my simple interest, and 1200 plus 60, 1260 was my compound interest. Here I'm interested in this part. This part is nothing but 60. That means the difference between simple interest and compound interest will be nothing but 60 here. So this is another thing which you can directly utilize. Right, so there was no contest question, previous contest question. Now it's the time for the contest question here. You know what is the benefit of contest question? The benefit of the rule of the contest question is the one who solved this in the fastest time possible was the one who gives the answers in the fastest way possible will always be provided with an atom session. Now atom session is nothing but a doubt clearance session in which you can post your doubts and your doubts will be cleared within 20 minutes of your post, right? The time allotted for this contest question is nothing but 1 minute. So let's directly move to the contest question part and let's solve the question. Right, the timer is running. Let's try to work on this. Time up. Let's move to the next question. Question number 7. Right. So it's given a sum of rupees 91,000 is borrowed at 20% per annum compounded annually for 2 years. If it were borrowed at the rate of 100 by 7, so 100 by 7 will be how much? That means the rate is nothing but 14.28%, right? So I'll just mark this value could be written as 14.28%, but that's not required every time. So this value is nothing but 14.28. Sometimes you have to identify these kind of values which will be useful. Then if it were borrowed at the rate of 14.28% per annum, the simple interest for 4 years, then what is the difference between compound interest and simple interest? Okay, now first one is for 2 years it's nothing but the compound interest part, and next case is nothing but, so here you need to be slightly careful, for 2 years it's nothing but the compound interest part here with the rate of interest is 20%, and this is for 4 years, right? So let's check. So now my compound interest for 2 years will be how much? 91,000. Let's talk about compound interest here, into 1.2 raised to 2 minus 1 is my representation. So let's work on this. So how much is 1.2? So if we'll take 1.2, that means it's something about 1.44. 12 square is something about 144, right? Identified. So can be written as 91,000 into the value of 1.44 minus 1 is about 91,000 into 0.44 is my representation. I'll just mark this part so that I can utilize it further, right? That's the first thing. Then the next one is the same thing, is 91,000, that is on simple interest now. So 91,000 is at the rate of 100 by 7 into the value is how much? The value is the time period is about 4 years here. By 100 is the format. So let's try to calculate. This part is already cancelled. So definitely 91 is somehow somewhere related to 7. So let's check. So so let's check what is my value available here. My value is 13,000 into 100 by 7. By 100 is the format given here, right? So 100 by 7 is in terms of percentage by 100. So if I'll go by this, the problem is it's difficult to get this number, right? There could be some discrepancy possible here. So let's do one thing here. Instead of this, I know 100 by 7 into 4, that means 400 by 7. So 400 by 7, let's do one thing, let's directly do this thing. Here it's about 91,000 into, I'll take 400 by 7% of this thing. Now 400 by 7 is how much in terms of percentage? Is about 52, right? Not exactly 52. Let's find out 400 by 7, right? So 57.14 will be the value, right? So here my interest is about 57.14. So this value is 57.14%. Can I say my value is about 91,000 is multiplied with 0.5714, right? That's my representation here. Now I want the difference between these two. So it's about 91,000 into 0.5714 minus 0.44, right? So that's about 91,000 is multiplied with 0.1314 approximately, right? So let's multiply this one with 1314. So let's check how much could be the value possible here. Let's try to multiply. So question number 7, let's multiply this value. So 1314 into 91. Let's do this thing. 131 into 91. So 131 into 91. Right? So let's multiply. Let's go by the basic calculation value. 131 here and 9, 7, 11, right? So it's somewhere around, this is 1, this is 2, this is 9, 1192 something, right? So it's near to 119 something, right? Because it's 1314. I'm not taking the exact value here. So that's here 11960 will be the value possible here, right? So 14.28 time written as 100 by 7. Also I could have worked on this part also. According to this, what should be my interest, right? Let's calculate it for the time being. So here, if I'll go by this also, this is cancelled here. So 13,000 into 4 is nothing but 52,000. My interest here is 52,000 will be the interest in this case, and I'll have to take 91,000 is multiplied with 44. So let's multiply 91 with 44 and I'll check the value. So 91 with 44, right? So it's how much? 436, and again the value is nothing but 364, right? So it's nothing but 4004. So 40040 should be the value. So I'll take this difference. That difference is nothing but 0, then it's nothing but 6, 9 and 1 is the value, right? So I can get the direct answer from this part also, but that is not required every time. I could have taken the approximate value, which we have to identify. 100 by 7 is nothing but 14.28%. so I could have utilized that also to find out the approximate. Although if you apply this, you'll get the exact figure, right? Now whenever a question seems to be very lengthy, it would be very easy for you to work on. So let's check. Harilal and Hari Prasad have equal amounts. Harilal invested all his amount, so I'll mark HL and HP are the two people. Harilal invested all this amount at 10% per annum compounded annually for 2 years. So 2 years is the time period given, right? So let's mark. And Hari Prasad invested 1/4 of the amount at 10%. So invested 1/4 of the amount at 10%. Again, compound interest annually, and rest at R% per annum at simple interest for 2 years, right? So rest is how much? 3/4. It's for R% for 2 years, right? Same condition. The amount received of both of them at the end of the year is same. What is the value of R%? Now here, if the amount received is same and they have the equal amount, that means the interest on this part will be same as the interest on this part, right? So that means 10% in 2 years will be equal to 10% at this part, and the remaining will have the same. So if 10% is for 2 years, that means 10% is the rate of interest. That means it's about 10 plus 10 plus 10 into 10 by 100, right? That means 21% will be the interest here. That means this has to be 21% as well as this has to be 21%. So 21% is here for 2 years and it's in the simple interest part. So 21 by 2 is nothing but 10.5% will be the interest on this part, right? So my simple interest is nothing but 10.5%, right? So that will be my value possible in this case. Question number 9. A sum of 7700 is to be divided among 3 sisters, Vidusa, Vimala and Vaishnavi, in such a way that simple interest on each part at 5% per annum after 1, 2 and 3 years respectively remains equal. The share of Vidusa is more than that of Vaishnavi, right? okay, the share of Vidusha is more than that of Vaishnavi by how much they are talking about. Okay, so 3 people are there. I'll mark Vidusha, then Vimla and Vaishnavi, right? Let's mark in this format. So overall summation was 7700 here. Let's say this receives A rupees, this receives B rupees, and this receives C rupees. So interest is how much? 5%. That means the interest here for this one is nothing but 5% of A. Here it's nothing but 10% of B. Every year it's nothing but 5%. That means 2 years nothing but 10%, and here it's 15% of C. Right? That represents the overall amount. Now it's given such a way that simple interest is this. It's given Vidusha, Vimla and Vaishnavi in such a way that simple interest on each part 5% per annum after 1, 2 and 3 years respectively remains equal. That means now this value is equal to this value is equal to this value, right? So 5% of A is equal to 10% of B, and that's equal to 15% of C. Now if I'll apply ratios part, I can find out the ratio between A, B and C. Whenever the equation is in this format, that means for A, I'll multiply the coefficient of these two values. Can I also write them in the least format possible as 1% of A is equal to 2% of B, and that's equal to 3% of C, right? If I'll cancel these values, I can write the values in this format. So for A, it's nothing but 2 into 3, 6, 2 into 3. For B, it's nothing but 1 into 3, and for C, it's nothing but 1 into 2. So it's nothing but 6, 3 and 2. The amount with them will be in the ratio of 6 is to 3 is to 2. Suppose 6 rupees, 3 rupees and 2 rupees, that means 11 rupees. But the actual value is how much? 7700. How many times? 700 times. Right? So now they want the difference between the share of Vidusha and Vaishnavi. Vidusha is 6 rupees and this is 2 rupees. That means the difference is 4 rupees here. 4 is multiplied with 700. The value is number 2800. Here the value should be 2800. So it seems that it's a simple interest question, but actually not. It's more of percentage and ratio part here. Right? So these are the few of the important questions which has appeared earlier in the examination. So what is the summary of the class today? As we have learned how to work on the simple interest and compound interest part. Basic things, the basic important formulas are nothing but, I know simple interest is always on the principal value, compound interest is always on the amount part. This thing but P into R into T by 100. This thing but P into 1 plus R by 100 whole square minus 1 is my representation. Then for 2 years, right? So the case for 2 years here, my difference between compound interest and simple interest is always in terms of P into R by 100 whole square. The ratio between compound interest and simple interest is nothing but R by 200 plus 1, right? These are some of the basic things which you need to keep in mind whenever you're dealing with the simple interest and compound interest questions. Right, so thanks for joining us. I hope you might have liked the class. If you have liked the class, then please share this video with your friends so that your friends can also get benefited or can get help from these kind of videos. Now it's the CPP time. Now CPP time is nothing but the class practice pack time. So students, I have given 10 best questions from the topic that I have discussed today. CPP is unlocked and available for solving immediately after the class for all the passport members. For non-passport members, CPP is locked. To unlock, you need to subscribe to Passport, which will not only give you the CPP questions at the end of the every class, but apart from that, you will be provided with lot of things, like you will have an access of all the tests available for the complete year, for the entire year, for the entire span of 1 year. You have an access to a lot of practice questions. There will be a lot of practice questions available. Apart from that, there will be a lot of bonus contents will also be available. So please subscribe to the Passport so that you can be benefited with our services. Now Passport members, start solving the CPP questions right away. All the best. Thank you.